Hey everybody, it's Party Elite with a beginner's guide to Total War Warhammer. Sometimes in battle, you might find yourself with idle units. Reserves behind your front lines, ranged units that are unable to fire into the fray, etc. In many cases, it's perfectly fine to have these units stay idle. Why cause deaths in a unit that doesn't need to engage to ensure victory? But in most cases, these idle units need to be pulled into action. So let's take a look at the situation I'm in right now. You'll notice my front line is much smaller than the enemy's. This is because I want to restrict the width of the engagement to make it easier for me to maneuver my reserves. Now, a human player would probably see this as an opportunity to encircle or flank me, in which case I'd have to move my reserve units to block the movement. You'll notice also that my archers were firing on multiple enemy units rather than a focus fire. This is because I want to try and incite a mass rout ASAP rather than just clearing up one flank. I don't need to thin one enemy unit out to give my own dwarves a chance. They're pretty strong and they can deal with a full unit just fine. Now, you'll notice some of the enemy units do engage one of my reserve units. I should have moved them out to face the enemy a bit more head-on, but I'm not entirely concerned. Now that the battle's in full swing, you'll see I have some idle units. I set them to work right away. My archers would usually target enemy reserves at this point, but since there's just the one, I start firing at enemy ranged units in the hopes of scaring them away. Now, I've got a ranged unit that's sitting there and doing nothing because they refuse to fire into the backs of their friends over here on the right flank. That's happening. Meanwhile, I take my idle lord out and push him out to deal with the flank that's heavily outnumbered, and I also set my reserve on the right out on a flanking maneuver as well. Finally, I target the remaining enemy archers, and now that the other two have run away, I reposition my idle archers behind the massive orcs where the battle is thickest. Then, I have them open fire into the backs of my enemy. Finally, when it looks like my left flank is predictably faltering, I send in my unit of fresh reserves. Because they're not tired, they'll fight more efficiently than their friends and their foes, helping bring about their demise. After that, it's just a matter of cleaning up the mess. I took a big risk in this engagement, and made some mistakes. Against a human player, my reserves would have had to come into action much sooner, either to protect the flanks or to bolster the front line. With that said, it's clear why reserves are important, and why units should rarely be left idle. Keeping some troops out of immediate danger gives you options and mobility, and you need to know exactly when and how they should be sprung into action, and that's what being a great general is about. For more tips and tricks, subscribe to this channel, and if there's something you'd like to see covered, let me know in the comments below.